where we get to talk about some topical issues. We bring them to the fore and then we analyze them. Okay, so my guest this morning is Otwikon Franklin Isong. Wednesdays are Otwikon Franklin Isong's Day. And today he's here. Without much ado, let's get to meet him and then get the conversation off the ground. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ike. Good morning, listeners. Good to be here.
Yes. Let's go straight to most of what we're going to be looking at, which will be first off from the local papers. There was a special report by the Mail, and this particular report has been trending on social media. I believe you've come across the report yourself. And the special report is where it talks about 12.7 billion naira that has been so far spent on the International Worship Center, which according to them, from everything, that amount of money would have empowered about 3,000 Akwa Ibomites with about 4.2 million naira each as business startup capital. And it says here, a total amount of money budgeted for this particular project is about 32.3 billion for the worship center. Otwikon Franklin Isong, that must have been that's your field, investigative journalism, and a critical analysis and survey and all whatnot that went into it, saying about 12.7 billion spent so far. And if that 12.7 billion that has been spent so far is shared to 3,000 Akwa Ibomites, it would have given each person 4.2 million naira each as a business startup capital. What do you think of that?
I want to commend the Mail newspaper, particularly Ekemini Simon, for always coming up with an earth-shaking investigative report that will also enhance probity, transparency, and accountability in Akwa Ibom State. I am also an investigative journalist. I know how painstaking it takes for a journalist to investigate a particular report and come out with the publication. Sometimes it could take months, it could take weeks, it could take days, and sometimes you put your life on the line in order to come out with the report. You write to authorities, you visit sites, you have photographs, interviews, and all that in order to enhance and enrich your report. So I commend the Mail newspaper for always setting the agenda for conversations like this, for always setting the pace for good governance and probity. I want to say that when I read that report, I was surprised, though I wasn't surprised in any case, because we used to object, we CLO normally object to the inclusion of appropriation for the worship center, international worship center, in the state's budget. Reason we normally give is that Akwa Ibom State is a sub-unit of the Nigerian entity, and that Nigerian constitution prohibits a state to be partisan in any religious matter, because Nigeria is a secular state where it purports that the country is neutral when it comes to religious matter. The country does not uphold a particular religion, and so the federating unit, in this case states, are not supposed to be partisan or biased when it comes to a particular religion. So when the CLO normally sees the appropriation made for budget for the worship center, we take exception to it, and we always object to that particular provisions. I in person, I have been objecting from 2007 till date. I particularly have been objecting to the state holding Karo service, where the state will have a carnival kind of one-day Karo concert at either the Gospel Bible Stadium. Formerly it was, before now it was at the Uyo Township Stadium. Before we now had the Gospel Bible Stadium, and this had continued to be. Each time this event is organized in December period, I always object to it as a person, because I feel that the state is using the state resources to patronize a particular religion. Sometimes the callers will call in and say, are you a Satan? Are you against Christian? I am a deacon in my church, and I cannot allow the state funds, by my belief, to be used to promote my own religion, because you have people who believe in other religions. You have the Muslims, the Hindus, the atheists, those who don't go to church. You have those who are traditional worshippers. Well. And so when you now use the state fund, where every person, all these religion members are taxpayers that contribute to the pool that constitute the state resources, you now use it and promote a particular religion. You make the other religions to be seen secondary and subservient to the particular religion. And so for me, such things can lead to insecurity. Such things can also lead to malice, to strife, and to hatred amongst the religion. It can even create religious disharmony in a state. And so when we see things like this, we normally come out to condemn. I have been condemning it. CLO objected to the building of worship center because we felt it is not an industry that will promote the economy of the state. We took time to explain that if you Akwa Ibom State is named after God, it's called God's own state, God's own state, Akwa Ibom, and that if you move from IBB, from IBB, that is by Accra Road, down to the end where you have, down to the end of IBB where you have Secretariat, you would have counted more than 10 churches. Now, if you enter from a back road end, that is Plaza, you move down to Ekoiman where you have the UETH, that is the flyover. You would have counted more than 20 to 30 churches on both flanks of the road. If you enter Run Street, if you enter Akar Road, in every road or street or lane or avenue in Akwa Ibom, even up to Shelter Housing Estate, in housing estates, Akwa Ibom, and the rest, you have churches. And so on the whole, if you want to take account, one can summarize that you have over 300, 500 churches to be on the average, to be on the safe side, if not up to 1,000 churches in the Uyo alone, not going beyond Uyo metropolis now. Now, if you enter up to the suburban, like like Oran and Ibetikpo and the rest, you have counted so many churches. And so we feel that these churches are enough. And so for the government to now invest the state patrimony, the state resources in the building of a church, it's not the best idea. It's not the best way
like
to go.
Worship center,
and so
not a church per se.
It's a church because it is meant for the Christians.
Economical,
whether you call the name doesn't change the fact that it is meant for Christians to assemble there to pray, to worship God. And I'm telling you that we have over 300 churches in Uyo metropolis to be on the safe side. And if you want to go, across the metropolis, you have add those churches that you have in the suburban, you would have gotten up to 1,000 churches. And this is within the flanks of the Uyo metropolis. So what are we now doing for the government using the state fund to invest in worship center where Christians will assemble? And then at the beginning of every year, that is January, you will have the solemn assembly at the Ibom Hall grounds. And then in December, you have the, the Caro choir concert, where you will have the church is also promoted over and above other religions. Yeah, so I feel as a person that it is not proper to use the state resources to invest in a particular religious activity.
But let's get some facts clear. I thought from the beginning of the project, we were told the facts available was that it wasn't going to be funded from the state coffers.
This is what.
So at what point did the state government's money started coming in?
This is what we were told when there were objections to the project. People we criticized and raised objection to it. The government told us that it was going to be funded by individuals, by NGOs, and the rest. Even at that, we still felt that it is not right nice for the government to be the promoter of that industry, of that project, because it does not connote unity amongst religious, amongst religiosity in the state. Now, have you ever seen the government promote Muslim activity? Have you ever seen the government promote the activities of idol worshippers? So why would you not promote a particular religion? I am saying this is a predominantly Christian state. That is what I'm saying. Even when at a point RFI made there was a law in Kaduna State that seemed to prohibit open worship, open crusade and all those stuff. We are all against it because it was targeted at the Christians. Because that seemed to mean that you are prohibiting the activities of Christianity in Kaduna State. The country was agog. We condemned it and we call on the assembly, on the state, to revise the law. Because if you make a law to prohibit a particular activity that favors one particular religion, you'll be making the other religion to feel that they are not important in your state. That is why, if you link this to the political activity where a particular party has picked Muslim candidate, you see what is happening in the country. Because this particular action of the party seems to go contrary to the regular constitution that seems not to promote a particular religion over and above the other. So what am I saying? I am saying that, yes, we are told, I believe that it was not supposed to be funded by the government. But even at that, we said that the government shouldn't have been the forerunner, the promoter of the particular project that has to promote a particular religion. Now, I haven't been told that it wasn't supposed to be funded by the state government. But contrary to that, we are seeing budget being made. That's why each time we go for budget public hearing in the assembly, we normally object that this project ought not to be in the budget because we are told that it should not be funded by the state. This is why CLO normally object to it being in the budget of the state. But of course, we can only criticize. We can only raise objection. That is why in democracy, minority have their voices heard, but majority have their way. So when we speak like this, those parties who opt to come out, like that is why I keep on asking, where are the opposition parties? They only come out during point of election. Where were they when all these budget provisions were made? What were their actions? Do you expect me to be on the street protesting? Don't we have parties who campaign to be the government of the state that failed at the poll? Where have they been? They ought to be the one that will even do what the mail and I are doing. It's not the mail that will be on the street protesting. The mail can only bring up revelations. I can only come here to criticize and raise objections. But the party that contested against the party that is in government ought to be on the protest, ought to be on the street, ought to be doing something that will seem to show that they are not in support of what the government is doing and show us what they would have done if they were to be in the government. But here we don't have. We only have them 2 months to election. They will come up and then be forming factions and be doing or what they are doing in the state. That is where we are today. So sad that such kind of monies have been expended on the worship center. And I feel bad that there are issues that the government ought to have used the resources that have been used on the worship center to do, but here it's not done.
But Otwekong, if I may say, if you recall at the twilight of this particular project, the governor did say that he was building an altar for God. I mean, this is a state that is Christian, Akwa Ibom, a state named after God. I mean, predominantly Christians. There's nothing wrong if a governor decides to build an altar for God, is there? After all, the governor is a Christian.
You must be able to distinguish the resources that is being used. Is it the governor's allowances? Is it his personal allowances, his salaries that are being used?
So
I'm coming.
The governor is a Christian and decides that he is a Christian and decides to allot a certain amount of money for Christianity or Christian activities in the state. Is that a crime? Is that against the Constitution?
You see, the state budget is a budget that ought to be people-oriented. Ab initio, it ought to be a budget that reflects the people's aspiration and the people's dream, what the people actually want. That is why if we are doing an ideal democracy, the governor ought not to influence the budget. When a budget is sent to the House of Assembly will panel the budget, make amendment, and make input, and then call public hearing. Public will come and make input, object to whichever item that they feel is unnecessary, and then input are made, and then what comes out from the assembly as a final result is not what the governor sends in most cases. That is why in most cases at the federal level you will see the president declining to sign a budget because it was cut down or it was up or something else was injected into it and they call it budget padding. So these are the issues. So what we normally have in the case of Akwa Ibom, I am not saying that the governor has no right to build a church for a community, for the state. But it should not be at the detriment of the peoples of the state. It shouldn't be at the detriment of everybody. Of course, I have seen government officials who have on their own used their resources and build churches
on their own.
Donate it to the church. So it shouldn't be sitting as a government official using the public allocation that is made to your office and using that one to be building a church or building a mosque or building a worship center for the traditional believers.
His Excellency Governor Dumi Manuel is not guilty in this, because there are also some governors who have been fingered to have used state resources to build mosques as well.
That is why I am saying that I am not from those states. If these people of the state allow that to happen, here in Akwa Ibom, we should look at the ideal thing that ought to be done. Yeah, that other states allow it doesn't mean that it is right.
They didn't make a fuss out of it. I mean, predominantly in those states, a particular religion is more. And so when the governor decides to use some part of the monies for the state to build a mosque for the people of those states who are predominantly, say, Muslims, people don't talk about it that much the way they're talking about the worship center here in the Akwa Ibom state. Has the governor committed a crime?
The governor has not committed any crime. I will make it clear here. I have said, let us try to separate the office of the governor and Mr. Odo Emmanuel. The office of the governor is that of the Akwa Ibom state, governor of Akwa Ibom state. It covers the Muslims, the Hindus, the atheists, the Christians, and the rest. Now, Mr. Odo Emmanuel is a deacon in Akwa Ibom Church. He can choose to use his resources. He has it enough. His resources as Mr. Odo Emmanuel. As Mr. Odo Emmanuel can choose to use his personal resources to build a church or worship center. After all, when King David built the altar of God, he didn't use the state resources to do it. It was his personal money that God blessed him with. So he can use his money to build church for any community he wants and promote his religion. But if you now sit as a governor of Akwa Ibom state to use the taxpayers' money, where the Muslim pays tax, the Hindus pays tax, the atheists pays tax, you now use the taxpayers' money paid by everybody to promote a particular religion, it's unfair to those people who are paying this tax. That is the point I am making. That it happened in other states elsewhere, and nobody talked about it. Doesn't justify it. What is wrong is wrong. Whether it is done in the sky, whether it is done in heaven, and the law says it is wrong, it is wrong.
But is it unconstitutional? That is
what I'm saying. Instead of telling you that Nigeria is a secular state, it is in the constitution of the country. That Nigeria is a secular state. That means that it purports that Nigeria is not supposed to promote a particular religion
above the others.
You are a neutral state. That is why you have unfertile grounds for other religion to practice. Even now, you see the attempt, you see the rumor of the rumor that there is an attempt to Islamize, quote and unquote, the country. You see what is happening. You see the uproar, the killing of the priest. In some part of the country, you see how people are reacting to it. A party picking a Muslim ticket. You see how people are reacting because it is strange to our constitution. It is strange to our practice, to our belief system. We believe that the country is open to every religion to practice. I can choose to be in my house. I can choose to be an idol worshiper. I can choose to be a Christian. It's a choice. That's why in our constitution you have the freedom of worship, of religion, of make your choice and choose which opinion, which thought you want to hold and believe. And so when a particular government, not a government, chooses to promote a particular religion over and above the others, it becomes unlawful, it becomes ultra-vice, it becomes unconstitutional.
Okay, so we'll leave that for a bit and perhaps